Hi, this week I want to point out interesting topic at least for us here in Turkey. Um, why the globalization has come or is leading to a different path than intended to be. What I mean is that, as you see, I mean, if you look at the global events and how globalization has come to a point since Bretton Woods or even before that, World War One, we see that the globalization is not effective as it was before. Yes, the economic activities are very fast. The financial resource can move from one place to another without or with less even barriers than it was before, and investments are increased or has been increasing. However, there are a lot of disputes and unrest within especially within developing countries and its people, maybe not with the leaders or the elites of those countries, but with its people. And this is now getting or finding a response within the some elites within these global countries, states, and this is now increasing tensions between the developing or developed countries, especially the leader of developed countries, US, and with some of the developing countries. And we think that unless a solution or a cure is, or it would be, or the globalization needs some rectification, modification, unless it has been done, and there will be a great consequences in coming 20 or 30 years time, and we want to discuss with you about this. So let's start. Now we have mentioned that since let's say Bretton Woods, and the aim of the Bretton Woods is to define a new economic path for the world, how it should be defined, and it has been decided that the countries will keep the barriers between each other in order to protect their own interests for some time, while especially developing countries are going to focus on advancement, technological and economic advancement or rectification to catch up with the developed countries. And after 70s, the globalization has gained some steam, and up until now, the global economic activities has increased. However, for the last decade, we have been hearing more noises than it was before. As it is expected, everybody will say that, but now we are seeing a trade war, especially has erupted between US and China, and there are a lot of also noises coming from countries such as Turkey, India, Pakistan, Malaysia, Indonesia, Mexico, Argentina, Brazil, and Poland, and they want to also attend the way that they are now producing or manufacturing, or let's say developing technology. Because after the Bretton Woods, the developed countries are more focused on the technology, and they have been spending billions of it, and then these countries which are producing agricultures or low-cost materials such as t-shirts, shoes, hats, these kind of things, are focused with the low-cost centers. So high-cost centers are developed countries, and low-cost centers are developing countries. But the gap between them has been increasing. And please understand this. There are around $2 trillion turnover between the United States and Europe continent, whereas already 1 billion or 1.5 billion people is living. Now coming the economic activities between Africa and Asia, it's around 6 billion, and around 7 billion or 6 billion is around is 2 billion, 2.45 billion, and 6 billion people is living there. So the economic benefits are not equal or fairly distributed among these states. And this is now maybe in 20 years before it was somehow pressured down by the elites within the developing countries, but these now concerns or loud voices are finding some responses from the developing countries, I would say new elites or new administrations. And that causes a great concern, I believe, to U.S. administration and all the future U.S. administrations, even in the Democratic or Republic sides. It's because they are getting more and more severe. Now, let's Turkey look at this. Turkey said, I'm going to now increase my military capability, where I'm going to focus on manufacturing all these things. I will buy nothing from anybody in maybe 20 years' time. China is already doing this, Russia is already doing that. India wants to do this the same. They want to now do their own aircraft, including Korea, Japan, Poland, Mexico, and everybody almost that we are having, especially the big poles or the big countries in developing nations. It means that all these things indicate one thing: technology. Everybody wants to achieve technology, and the reason is very easy. Once you do one plane, let's say Boeing, it costs 200 millions, and you need to, maybe give a region's agricultural products to them, a kind, let's say the wheat. In a city, all the agricultural products should go in order to meet with the expenses of one plane, which is 200 million. So that's a real concern. A real concern where it needs to be met with some kind of justification. That's why I have read some articles recently from Daniel Rodrik, and he was mentioning that in order to close the gap between the developing countries and the developed countries, the technology transfer should be allowed to some level at least. Otherwise, there will be more and more trade wars in the future. That's what my understanding is. And I can't state how true it was, or it is, that the technological advancement between, or the gap between developing countries and the developed countries is so wide. And this caused a great economic depression to developing countries. And once this globalization is thought of, what I was reading all the time and what I find is a lack, that they were considering as a concept an ideal world where there will be no corruption. But in developing countries, there is more and more corruption than ever compared with the developed countries. So when the investment is coming, in terms of financial investment or resources coming to a developing countries, the elites and the governments over there is taking most benefit to themselves. So 90% of the benefit is coming with the 5% of the population, where the 10% goes to 90% of the population over there. So what does it mean? That the people within these developing countries are starting to be speaking and talking loudly about their concerns, and this is not good for the developed countries, because the developing countries elites have to find some kind of response or ease their comforts if they want to stay in the offices. And like in Turkey, that's why Erdogan is now having a popularist voice, that we are going to manufacture our own technological equipments. We will not trust and depend anyone. I don't believe it's a good idea totally that we should do everything alone. There should be an economic activities internationally between all countries, but I do agree that we should not buy most expensive equipments from developed countries where we are giving most of our aircraft just for only one item. This is not fair also. It makes us not fair or advanced, but cheap and lazy. That's why I believe the developing countries' concerns are fair, and I agree with Daniel Rodriguez's solution that in order to close this gap, the economic activities and also the shares, the distribution of the profits, shares, more technological advancement should be shared with developing countries, and unless it has been done, and there will be more and more concerns where there will be more and more trade wars. I think it will be started in soon, these kind of things, where the shares will be shared between the countries, We will see. But ideally, also it will affect, I will say, the developing countries' political systems, because the only way it can be done is to elect the new elites which are not corrupted, and which can also serve and bring some solutions for the benefits of the people in the countries. Unless it has been done, any solution, even the transfer of the technological solution, will not bring peace, or I would say stability between developing countries and developed countries. If you like this video, please, there's a like button underneath the screen, please press there. And if you think you need to, hear those news from us recently, there's a subscribe button. You can press there, and whenever we publish a new video, you will be notified as soon as possible. Thank you for watching us, and see you next time. Have a great time and the weekend too. Bye.